So today I wanted to talk about video game aesthetic. It's something that's kind of been on my mind throughout the years, and I've never found a good way to talk about this particular topic because it's a little bit of a sensitive topic in the world of gaming. People like to think that graphics don't matter and that it's all about gameplay or story, and those things probably do take precedent over something like aesthetic, but also as far as what your opinion is when you say those things, you're not really thinking about how well will this game grab the attention of the masses, like people beyond your eclectic taste, where you realize, like, I don't have to think that a game is beautiful or really pleasing on the eyes so long as it has an emotional story or has amazing gameplay that people are missing out on. It's the truth of the matter is that people do care about how something looks in a lot of cases, and I think that it's something that publishers and also people that are talking about video games tend to ignore. So one of the things that's going to make this topic particularly hard to talk about is talking about particular games that don't look good aesthetically. I don't want to throw any particular game under the bus. It also puts me up for a whole lot of scrutiny from people that might enjoy those games that will just snap back and say, no, that game is gorgeous, you don't know what you're talking about. So instead I'm going to talk about game aesthetics that actually work really, really well. The first one I want to talk about is obviously one of the most iconic of all time. It's the Mario Brothers series. What makes Mario's aesthetic so pleasing on the eyes? Well, first of all, he has nice bold colors. There's a bold red and a bold blue for his outfit. The characters across the board in general have nice circular designs, and they place all these characters in worlds that are usually very bright, colorful, and bold colors, primary colors. These are all things that do matter to people at the end of the day, even if you're not thinking about it. It's just the idea that the things that you grew up with when you were a little baby, red, blue, green, yellow, those distinct colors that are just kind of showcased here in an entire video game, is easy on the eyes. It's not something where it's like pale colors or weird muted colors. They're just fun, nice colors, and it just gives you a nice warm feeling when you're looking at it. And again, circular design patterns to characters is just nice. There's something about curvatures that is just pleasing aesthetically to the human mind, whereas sharp, angular designs or oblong designs are things that are meant to be unpleasing to the human eye. There's a reason why there is symmetry to most people's faces and why that's considered attractive. If things are sort of like slumped in one direction or the other, people notice these things. It's not that it's not beautiful in its own way. It's not that there isn't people that will find that beautiful. It's just that in a very large general sense, you lose the attraction of more people when things are oblong or sharp. Another great example is Animal Crossing. A lot of circular designs to all the villagers. It's also nice bright colors, but also there's a softness to it, and also there's a simplicity to it. A great example within the universe itself, KK Slider, Isabelle. If you close your eyes and try to imagine what they look like, it's really easy to imagine what they look like. You don't need to be referenced with a picture or anything, because it's just simple. It's just two black dots for eyes and then a simple shape to kind of give you an idea of what animal it's supposed to be, and there isn't just a whole lot of extraness going on. So a lot of games that make big mistakes here is that they over design their monsters or their characters, maybe give them outfits that has like 15 belts or a giant like loop or like 15 different colors on their one outfit. It becomes so much that when you walk away, even if you enjoyed the game, it's going to be really, really hard to close your eyes and remember exactly how that outfit looked or how that monster was. That's something that also people don't think about, but it's also something that if you look at it initially, a lot of people from the general public looks at it and goes, I don't know what I'm looking at. All right, moving on to something else. God of War is another fantastic example of simplicity. Although its graphics are hyper realistic, and that's the idea, that's the intent, is that it's supposed to be almost like a movie brought into a video game world. Still, the idea of Kratos is that of simplicity. He has the beard, he has the red stripe across his face, he has a pale ashy skin, and he's broad, and you know, again, there isn't like a million things going on with his design. It's just practically a loincloth with boots. But the idea though is that you remember Kratos because he himself has that red stripe and the white, and like that creates an iconicness to the character. It creates an identity that separates himself from the 5 million other bald characters in video games. Very, very smart, very, very simple. But again, the idea is that you make easy to identify characters. And when you do that, and you give them a great personality and a great story and great gameplay on top of that, you have a character that is sitting in a world that is really fun to play and also really easy on the eyes. Final Fantasy VII is a great example of characters where it just pushes the line. Like, it's just there where it's like, we're going to come up with uniquely designed characters, but for the most part, keep everything very simple. Cloud Strife, bright yellow hair, blue eyes or greenish eyes, Mako colored eyes, whatever you want to call it. And then the outfit is just purple. It's plain purple. Then you got a cool little shoulder piece. And then the sword itself is massive and very, very distracting, but in a good way, because the designer, Tetsuya Nomura, wanted the sword to be almost the iconic piece to the character. So when you have a big honkin' sword, people remember the big honkin' sword. Same thing with Sephiroth. It's, you know, just a pretty simple black design. Yes, there's a little bit of extra going on with the belts across the chest, but for the most part, you just kind of recognize that it's like a guy with like a leather suit going on, and then he's got the big long honkin' sword. So like a big part of his design is his big freaking sword, and then his silver long hair. So again, these designs, oh, Tifa, for example, I don't want to move on just yet, but Tifa is another one where it's like just a plain white tee with a black dress. It's so simple by design, but again, it's easy to remember the character and how she looked when there isn't a lot to remember to her design. So Final Fantasy VII is a great example of where the designers did a fantastic job creating iconic looking characters. Some games in the series go a little too far, and so it does become a lot harder to remember how they look, but I won't get into specific games. Just saying that like 7 was a great example of peak character design. And one more example that I'll give you that again is not Nintendo, because I'm trying not to make this exclusively a Nintendo channel, is Ratchet and Clank. You know, Clank is a great simplistic design of a little robot character, but you know what? The thing about Clank that makes him recognizable to this day is that he's often paired with the orange Ratchet. You know, Ratchet also has a fairly simplistic design, although again, it's a very unique design because he's an alien, so he's got the Lombax ears and all that stuff. But you put the two together, you have a very, very almost generic looking robot, but because he's always paired with this also easy on the eyes aesthetic design of a character named Ratchet, you almost like pair them together and it becomes an easy icon that works together, you know, and that's why they're even like paired in the name of the game, Ratchet and Clank. And combine that again with very circular designs, it becomes a very aesthetically pleasing game. So there you go. There's a couple examples of what I'm talking about here. Of course, would I love to just trash a couple of games that I think fail at the expense of their character designs or their world designs or their art designs? Sure, but at the same time too, I stand to make fun of something that a lot of people like. There's a lot of cult classics. If you can think of many cult classics, oftentimes in the world of video games, I find is that the reason why they are cult classics in the first place is because of their art design. It's because the first thing that people see is something that has immediately made like the general public unattracted to the game. But then when you actually play the game, you find that it is a stellar, amazing game. Ergo, it becomes a cult classic because some people, a subset of people, gave the game a chance, or they were attracted to that oblong or angular design aesthetic that a lot of people weren't shined onto, and they were rewarded with an amazing game. Again, I wish I could go into more specifics, but I really don't want to make a habit of upsetting my audience. I think you could understand. But basically, I just wanted to talk about this topic because in particular, I saw one game that looks fantastic. It looks like it's going to offer a lot to the gameplay. It looks like they're putting in like all the stops in this game, but they're using an aesthetic that is really, really unpleasing to at least me. And I kind of look at it and I think, like, I wonder how many people subtly think the same way. Like, they just kind of look at the trailer and they immediately give up because it just doesn't look like a game that they would want to play. But again, I'm very interested in this game that's coming up, and I'm like, well, maybe I can look past the aesthetic because it seems like this game's going to be offering a lot, and maybe I'll just end up enjoying it anyway. But I guess the question I have is, how many times does this happen to you? Like, how many times do you think you looked at a game trailer and you just thought, nah, not for me? But how many times did you ever stop and think about why that is, and how many times that might have just been because the game looked unpleasing to you, but you didn't realize that that was the reason. That's just something that I mean, because like personally, I have gone through that many times in my life where I just look at a game trailer and I go, I don't know if that's gonna be for me. But then like when I really stop and think about it and do like a video topic like this, I realize now like it wasn't that the game didn't look fun to play, it looked like it was just not fun to look at. And again, it's a shallow reason not to enjoy a game. I readily admit that, but we're all human at the end of the day, you know? People are just gonna like what they like, and some people don't put deep thought into what it is that they don't like about something. And the reason why a lot of times that becomes unsaid is game aesthetic. And I think that like there should be more market research or just a better understanding about what pleases people on a global level. But also at the same time too, I'm not trying to say that we should homogenize all art styles into this outline that I put out for this video. I'm actually really proud of games that manage to rise above it essentially and make games that are, I guess, aesthetically pleasing or just get the attention of the general population regardless of what I basically said here. Like Minecraft is always going to be a counterpoint in the world of aesthetic. Like, you know, we've moved on, we've tried to like find things with bouncier circular patterns and stuff like that, and also just have incredibly good graphics, but Minecraft stood against that and said, you know what, we're going to scale things down to primitive blocks and we're going to be able to make a more ambitious game because we scaled back the aesthetic. But they worked with that too, and I think that they made an aesthetic that is iconic because they worked within those limitations. So there's definitely like cases where games can be aesthetically pleasing or just iconic because they went against the grain. So it's not necessarily that I'm trying to say don't ever do it. It's just that it's interesting to me how often games will just be like, we're going to just say F it to all this and just make the most aesthetically unique game of all time. And it doesn't work out, it doesn't pan out. So it's just sad, in my opinion, when it's like, wow, they put a lot of money into this and it really would have just been solved if they just had a better art director. I don't know. Again, this is why it's such a difficult conversation to have, because it almost sounds inherently shallow to point this out, but it's true as well. I think that's like the thing that makes this topic particularly interesting. All right, well anyways, I just wanted to share that with all of you, and you know, I'm just curious if there's any of you out there that understands what I'm saying or even agrees. If not, I'm okay with hearing how I'm wrong about this particular topic. Just let me know, okay? All right, take care.